everybody, welcome back to Killer Content. In case you missed the video on our Facebook page, we have some exciting news about merchandise. We are working on getting some merchandise together. We have stickers that are on the way, and if you guess the correct serial killer of the week on our Instagram or our Facebook, the first person to guess it correctly is going to receive a free Killer Content sticker. So that's just a small giveaway we want to do every single week, and I'm really excited about it. The stickers are being made as we speak, so I'm super happy, ready to get the ball rolling. If there's any merchandise you guys want to see, comment, let me know. You can also reach us at the email I mentioned in our last video, watchkillercontent@gmail.com. And also, when our Facebook page reaches 500 followers, we are going to be doing a giveaway of this painting that I did. And it is a replica of the John Wayne Gacy Pogo the Clown painting that he did on death row. So, super exciting, super awesome stuff coming. But we did have one winner of the stickers already, and his name is Luke. And congratulations, you did guess it correctly. It is Harold Shipman that we will be talking about this week. If you guys don't know, he is the only doctor in the UK known for killing his patients, like in history. So that's kind of an interesting fact about him. And we will go ahead and get started with his childhood. So when he was younger, his dad wasn't in the picture, and it was his mom who raised him, and she was incredibly strict. Like, she dictated this dude's entire life, relationships, what he wore every day, everything. It was crazy. His parents were Methodist and working class, and they also, he was born on like January 14th of 1949, I believe. And he, like I said, his parents were Methodist. He was the second of 3 kids, but his dad, I think, left when he was little, and it was just his mom, Vera, raising him and his 2 siblings. So it was a little rough with her being so strict and everything else, and life was a little hard for him. So a lot of the time he played sports, and he was actually a really, really good rugby player. Well, he passed his 11+ exam and went to a grammar school in England, and at 17 years old, his mom passed away. And somewhere in his teenage years, his mom was diagnosed with lung cancer. And in the last few years of her sickness, the doctors would come and give her morphine. And he was witness to these administrations of medicine. And he said that he could watch like the pain leave her body and everything. So that was something that happened quite often for him. And that is like a big part of like his killing, you'll see. And he ended up marrying, I think after he got done with schooling, he ended up marrying a woman, and they had 4 kids together. And then he also was a star, like, track runner, like a distance runner in track, and he was like vice captain his last year in school and everything else. And he caught the attention of this girl, and they got married, like I said, had the 4 kids, and he went on to become a doctor and study medicine. Well, he graduated in like 1970, I believe it was. So he graduated in 1970, and then he went and worked in this one place, and then he became a general practitioner. And when he became a general practitioner in like 19 1973 is when he did, and then 1974 he was caught for like forging like prescriptions or whatever, and he got a $600 fine and had to attend a rehabilitation sort of thing in York. Well, he went back and like did more, was still a doctor, still a general practitioner, and eventually in like 1993 he got his own surgery at 21 Market Street. So that's when everything kind of really starts to like get the ball rolling and everything getting in place for this dude killing people. Well, a lot of his victims were female, and a lot of them were over the age of 70. There were a few that were like 51, 69, blah, blah, blah. So there is some victims that weren't that old, but you know, most of them were fairly old, over the age of 70. Well, how he was killing them was overdosing them on heroin and morphine. So there was I think it was a funeral home that noticed there was a large amount of older female like cremation papers that were coming through, and so they kind of wanted it investigated. And there was this girl as well who, her grandmother passed away. She was a lawyer, and her grandmother passed away, and he's saying that like she had like this heroin problem and this and that, and he like in her will left like so much money to himself, and I think it was like 360,000 or 36,000 pounds. And so the granddaughter had investigated, and apparently I can't speak today, but the granddaughter had it investigated, and she ended up having the body exhumed, and there was blood work and everything done, and it showed that there was a heroin overdose, which again, he was like, you know, she was addicted to heroin and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Well, they went to the police, and the police investigated, I think, 15 different deaths and eventually arrested him. And I think he was arrested in 98. And then in the year 2000, his trial really began. And he claimed like this whole time, you know, I didn't do it, you have no proof that I did it, and this and that. And he stuck to his innocence. He was dumb a little bit. Like, yes, all of these old people are just magically overdosing on heroin, which back then, like, it was like okay to use like heroin in a little bit, like in minute amounts for medical reasons. But it was his last victim. I think it's something Grundy. It starts with a K. I think it's Catherine Grundy was her name, and she is the one that had the granddaughter who was the lawyer that did all the investigating. Well, he went to trial, and he was found guilty of 15 counts of murder and the forgery. Well, he was supposed to serve those consecutively for life sentence, and he had a life sentence for each one. And then he went and had like none of his team could like actually get anything done. Like they were just kind of like shit out of luck. There was too much evidence against him. And so he was eventually had the 1 count of forgery and then 15 counts of murder, the consecutive life sentences, no chance of parole. Basically, like there was no way he was going to get out. So then they investigated further after he was sentenced and found that he killed, I think, at least 212 people, at least, and then possibly over 265 people. So that was a little bonkers, if you ask me. So Like, how did this man get away with killing between 1995 and 1998 literally over 265 people? That's insane. No one questioned it either. Like, how do all these people still continue to go to this one doctor and all of his patients are dying? Like, how the fuck? Blows my mind. But they found that out, and then in 2004 he ended up hanging himself. Sorry if you see my camera move. My dogs are like moving my camera stand because they're fighting. In 2004, he hung himself in his cell on January 13th at 6:20 in the morning. So it was the eve of his 58th birthday, and he had hung himself. So that obviously not super great for anyone. The families of his victims were really upset because they felt like they're never going to get a confession. They're never really going to get answers or any kind of closures to why he did what he did and everything else. But if you ask me, I feel like he overdosed. He killed them by overdosing on the heroin and the morphine and everything because, you know, he watched his mom go through like lung cancer, which at the time, like, the medicine is nowhere near as good as it is now. So it was normal for him to see that, and he just remembers like it taking away her pain and everything. So I feel like that's why he was like putting them out of their misery in a sense. But a lot of the times, you know, his victims like weren't even like terminally ill or anything. So that's what, like, he's still sick in the head, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of heartfelt in a way, I guess, because you feel for him a little bit just because of like him watching his mom go through it, and you're like, oh well, I see how he wants to like take away their pain, and that's like all he's trying to do. Granted, he could have gone about it by actually being a doctor, but you know, killing people's cool too, I guess. But it's crazy to think that like how impactful that was on him, especially since like his mom was so like demanding and mean and everything else. Like, it's crazy to think that like that's the reason why he was killing the way that he was. And he had a lot more female victims than he did male, so that's another factor, you know. Like, he like saw his mom in them, which is kind of sad. Like, it really is. Like, you see like all these old patients and everything else, and you're like, oh, this like reminds me of my mom, and I want to put them like out of their misery instead of like seeing them go through so much pain and like this and that. And it sucks. Like, obviously, like, he's still sick in the head and fucked up, but like at the same time, it's sad. Like, it's really kind of sad, which I hate. But that's one of the reasons why I like talking about Harold Shipman, is just like that is one of like the biggest, most profound connections I think I've seen in a serial killer in their childhood. I hands down, easily. So that is all I have for Harold Shipman. I know there's not much, but you know, there's not much really to him. It's not like he went around and like had a whole bunch of different MOs that he went through or anything. There's not much really on his childhood, but you can find the article, which have a little more detail and everything, on the killercontent.com, killercontent.tv, and you can find more information there. And you can also find more information, like I'm sure in my book that I have, that I told you guys last time, serial killer timelines. There is an article about him in there as well. It's super good. Don't forget about the Pogo the Clown painting giveaway when we reach 500 followers on Facebook. So please go follow, go like everything. It is super awesome. I'm super excited to give this away. I worked really hard on it, and I feel like it looks super dope. So feel free, sorry, I hit my water bottle. So go like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. I can't wait to see you guys next week, and stay killer.